Okay, we are live. I just check with people. Okay. Hello, everyone. Wait a second. Let me see. Okay, so we are live now. Mhm. Wait a second. There's something wrong with OBS. Okay, everyone, please reply on chat. Okay, if you can hear us or see us. I'm just checking on YouTube directly. Please respond on chat if you can see us and hear us, everyone. Okay, so people are able to see us. Okay, so good evening, everyone. This session, okay, is on NMAT 2020. There are lots of speculation and lots of discussion among students, and then lots of uncertainty related to the new pattern. Okay, which has reduced the number of questions from 120 to 108, and then the test has changed itself. Okay, so to answer all these queries, okay, to answer all your questions, okay, we have with us Shivangi. Shivangi is currently a second year student at NMIMS Mumbai, which is one of the best colleges in the country for management education. And incidentally, means Shivangi is also NM means she has done her graduation from NM Mumbai. Okay, so she is I think she has experience of being in the campus for 5 years. Okay, so she is the person. Okay, whom you can ask anything which you have related to NM Mumbai. Okay, anything question you want to ask. So welcome to you, Shivangi. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
taking out
Thank
time
you so
from
much,
your.
sir.
Okay, so Shivangi, I'll means pass it on to you so you can begin the session.
Sure,
And
sir.
okay, and we can see means you can share the agenda and how you would like to take up the question. That is up to you. Okay, so over to you, Shivangi. Okay.
Sure, sir. So, hi, everyone. And hello, sir. Thank you so much for having me for this session. So, the agenda for today's session is how to crack NMAT 2020. And I'll be sharing my tips and tricks as to how I cracked the exam last year. So, I will now share my presentation for you all to see. Is the screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. So I will start off with the NMAT exam pattern, and after every slide, I look up the questions that you all have posted on the chat and try to answer them as best as I can. So, starting with the exam pattern for this year, the first thing is that you will have two options to take the NMAT 2020 exam. One option is that you can take the computer based test at the exam centers. That is the usual mode of giving the exams. And the other method this time is the online proctored exam that you can give from the convenience of your homes. So that is one point. And one thing to note here is that the people giving the exam at the centers will not be at a disadvantage, because what proctored exam means that is that there'll be a proctoring software that will monitor your computer's desktop, the webcam and audio. So it'll be a very fair method of giving the test at home as well. Now, the second thing is that all the questions in NMAT 2020 exam paper, they're all MCQ questions. So there'll be a total of 108 questions as opposed to 120 questions that the paper had earlier. But coming to the time duration of NMAT, the time duration will be the same. It'll be for 2 hours to attempt the entire paper despite the reduction in questions. So, which means that you'll have more time to complete the paper. Also, for every section, the average time per question that you can give per section has gone up. Coming to the order of sections, so one of the unique features of NMAT is that the test taker can choose the order of sections. So before attempting the paper, you can actually decide whether you want to take quants first or DI or LR first or the language section first. So which one goes first, which goes second, and which goes last. But once you decide on the order of the section, then you have to stick to it. And then, like, once you've started giving the paper, then you can't switch the order of the section. So, what I would suggest here is that you should start with your stronger areas because that will give you confidence and you will be able to perform better in the overall exam. And you will also know your areas of to know your areas of strength. You should give more and more mock tests. So you have to give a good number of mock tests to see what works for you, and that is how you can choose the optimal order of sections for you. So for me personally, I chose language section first, then LR, and then quants. And even in the quant section, I did the math part first, and the DI part of it I attempted later because that I thought was not my strong point. So the easier sets first and the difficult ones for later because they're essentially giving you the same score. So NMAT is a exam that tests you on time management, and all questions, be it easy questions or difficult questions, they give you the same score. So you have to pick your stronger areas first. That is one thing. So should I take the questions if there are any? Just a second. Sir, am I audible? Um, if you could respond on the chat if I'm audible. Just a second. Okay. I'm so sorry for the technical glitch. I'll just share my screen again. Though I'm unable to take the questions and I'm unable to connect with Sir, so I think I will take the questions up later after the PPT. So the next thing that I come to is that the sections in the paper are individually timed. So what that means is each of the three sections, you will have a sectional time limit. So you have to attempt those questions in those given time limit. Once the time limit for quant section passes, you can't come back to that section again. So that is one thing. Next, very important thing is that there is no negative marking. So since the exam does not cut marks for a wrong answer, instead of skipping a question, you can always use a calculated guess and mark an answer because there'll be no penalty. So one thing that I think is very clear is that you do not have to leave any question unanswered. The next thing is that there'll be moderate. The next thing is that NMAT is a moderate difficulty exam. So the difficulty level of NMAT is not as high as say CAT or ZAT. it is a relatively easy exam that can be cracked within a month's preparation and sincere efforts. It's more about strategic planning in this paper. The next thing is that there is uniform marking scheme. Like I mentioned that all questions carry equal weightage. There'll be a +1 for every correct answer, and for every unattempted question, there'll be 0 marks. So the scale score, and then there'll be scaled score for overall section, and the scaled score will lie from 12 to 120 with a total score of which is 360. So what we get initially is the raw score, which is scaled. And since this year the paper is an adaptive exam, which essentially means is that if you give a correct answer, the next question that you get will be difficult. And if a question you're answering incorrectly, then the difficulty level of the subsequent questions will go down. So for every easy question, even if it's a correct answer, you will be given a lesser score. So the scale score for easier questions will be lesser, and the scale score for difficult questions will be higher. So what you have to do is you have to maintain accuracy from the first question itself. That is about scaling and the marking scheme. And about the facility to review answers. So you can review your answers only when you are within that section. Like I mentioned, that once you proceed from one section to the other, you cannot come back to review or make changes to your answer. Now, another thing about NMAT is that you can attempt the exam thrice in a given year. So this is one of the biggest benefits of NMAT, because you have the opportunity to continually improve your score. And you also have the choice, like you can choose your test date, your test time, and the test center location. These are the important characteristics of NMAT that no other exam gives you in India, no other MBA entrance exam. So the next obvious question that you all must have is that whether should you schedule an exam and what is the ideal number of attempts. So I will try to take that up now. So I think all of us NMAT aspirants, we go through the dilemma of choosing the right number of attempts, because even I was in that situation when I sat for the exam. A luxury that you all have that we did not have is that this year, after you give the exam, within 48 hours you will get your score. So that will give you you'll be in a better position to decide whether or not you should give another attempt. So I appeared for NMAT only once, and that was after CAT, and it was only because I was not prepared enough before CAT to give NMAT. But for this year, I personally feel that you should give at least 2 attempts because it's a changed pattern. So one exam you could give before CAT, which will help you to test the waters a bit and see how you're performing, what the paper pattern is like. You can familiarize yourself with the whole concept of adaptive exam. And based on how you score, if your score is way above the expected cutoff, then you're good to go. Otherwise, the other attempt you can give after CAT if you feel that you can do better with a bit more of preparation. And I think you should not, I don't think it's wise to give a third attempt for NMAT. You should go for a third attempt only if you, so if say the cutoff for NMIMS Mumbai is 210 and you're scoring a 205 and you're missing the cutoff only marginally, that's when you should opt for a third attempt. Otherwise, if the gap is very big, then I don't think it makes sense to go for a third attempt unless you have the ideal preparation time before making the third attempt. So I think 2 attempts you're good to go, one before CAT and one after CAT, basis your scores. And also another thing is that in NMAT the score is extremely crucial. So they give 70% weightage to the NMAT score. So if your score in the first attempt is not very nice and you have prepared a lot and you think that your score can increase by a large margin, you can go for the third attempt also. That is very subjective. So moving forward, coming to the NMAT pattern, what it was before and what it is now. So earlier in every section, so language section had 32 questions, quants had 48, and logical reasoning had 40 questions. This year they have evened it out, and all the 3 sections will have 36 questions. And the time has also increased. So I will give you a comparison. Just a second. So the average time to attempt a quants question this year will be 1 hour 15 minutes, as opposed to this year it will be 1 minute 26 seconds for a quants question, as opposed to 1 minute 15 seconds that you got in the earlier years. So since the time per question is increasing, you can expect that the difficulty level also might go up. Similarly, for logical reasoning, the time per question this year will be approximately 1 minute 6 seconds, and earlier it was 57 seconds. And for language skills, this year every question will you can give 46 seconds. Earlier it was 41 seconds. So the time you can allot to questions in every section is going up this year. So there can be an increase in the level of difficulty, so you can plan accordingly. Also, another thing to note is that since the number of questions in all the sections are equal, which means that you have to give weightage to all the three areas equally, because there are sectional cutoffs as well that you have to clear. So even if your overall score is greater than the cutoff, greater than or equal to the cutoff, but you're not clearing the sectional cutoff, then that becomes a problem. So you have to give equal weightage to all the three sections. Moving forward, so what are the important topics section wise? So under language, the most important topics are vocabulary, parajumbles, fill in the blanks in grammar, syntax, antonyms, synonyms, reading comprehension. For quants, there is coordinate geometry, probability, mensuration, mixture and solution, average, profit and loss, percentage, number system, and pie chart. And for logical reasoning, there is blood relation, syllogism, critical reasoning, course of action, and puzzles. So these are the overall topics that you must master section wise. And next, coming to how to cover the NMAT section via the B Factory app. So there are 3 simple steps. For the first step is you have to go to the course named Complete Course for CAT 2020. Why CAT? Because the difficulty level of CAT is higher than NMAT, like I've mentioned before. So if you prepare for these questions, this level of questions, you are sure to clear the NMAT questions, and that is a given. Step 2 is that you have to watch videos on the following topics. So for quantitative skills, these are the topics. For language skills, these are the topics. And for logical reasoning, these are the topics. So these are the topics, you can find them on the B Factory app, and these are topics that you must cover. You have to watch videos and you have to give topic specific tests going to the test section, which is the third step. And after giving the topic test and being thorough with individual topics, you have to take overall mocks as well, which is the most important thing. Giving the mocks and strategizing is the most important aspect to clear NMAT. Now, how I prepared for NMAT and how I think you should also go about preparing for NMAT. So for this, I will say that NMAT is not an exam that requires you to study for endless number of hours like you would for a CAT or a ZAT. This exam requires more of smart study and more of a strategic approach. So you have to be very careful when you're selecting the questions that you're attempting, because I feel that if you're wise in preparation and choosing the right order of section, choosing the right questions, then the exam can be cracked very easily. So the 4 key points that you have to note going forward if you are in your preparation for NMAT, the first thing is that you have to master the basics in all the 3 areas. So first thing is that for verbal, you will have 46 seconds per question. So there is not even 1 minute to answer a given question. So time management here is the key. So for this, what you can do is you have to read editorials in the newspapers every day. That will not only help you with vocabulary, but it'll also help you develop the reading habit. That will help you browse through the comprehensions quickly. You have to focus on synonyms and antonyms, analogies, and all of that. And then this section will be a cakewalk for you. Coming to LR, you will have about 1 minute 6 seconds per question. So you have to familiarize yourself with mental calculations in this section. You don't have to assume information unless it is stated explicitly in the question. Expect more from verbal and analytical reasoning, and you have to practice more of these two, verbal and analytical reasoning for LR. And always start with questions that are your strong points. Coming to quants, since there is, like I mentioned, there's been an increase in time that you can give to all the questions, the difficulty level might go up. So there are four major areas that you have to cover in the quants section, which is algebra, geometry, modern math, and arithmetic. So you have to get familiar with the basic percentages. You have to learn tables, squares, and cubes that will help you speed up with your calculations. The next thing that I've mentioned here is timetable, which we all make but we never follow. So what you have to do is that you have to make a broad timetable. Don't go very deep into it so that you are unable to follow. Just make a broad timetable and divide time for each of the sections. Give weightage to all the three sections, and for the mocks. And after completing the mocks, you have to do a thorough analysis of the mocks and see what are your strong points so that you can strategize better. The third point here is build on your strengths. So what I would suggest is, ideally you should give as many mocks as possible in a week, but minimum give 2 mocks in a week. Analyze each mock thoroughly and then identify your areas of strengths and weaknesses and work on them. You have to build more on the topics that you're comfortable and thorough with. So the areas of your strength, those you have to completely master. And for the weak parts, you have to revisit the basics and cover the basics of them first and practice more and more to make them better. And you have to start to time yourself when you are doing the individual sections. Make sure that you have a timer and you do it as you're giving a final exam. And the last point is strategizing for the D-Day. Now, what this means is, so suppose, because you have the liberty of choosing your time slots also, so you have to get accustomed to giving the paper in that time slot. It actually matters a lot. So if say you have the early morning slot for the paper, make sure that a week before you have the final exam, you get up at that time slot and practice during that time so that your mind is alert and you are accustomed to giving the paper during that time. So give full length mock as per the time slot that is selected by you for NMAT. So that was the PPT. I couldn't take up the questions till now because of the technical glitch. I will just look at the questions. Sir?
Yeah, Shivangi, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Was I audible throughout?
Yeah, you were audible throughout. Okay. So now you can see the questions, okay, students have.
Yes, sir. Just a
Okay.
second. I'll.
Yeah. So I think they have not asked any questions. Okay. Guys, you can ask questions related to strategy, how one should plan. Okay. That means if you want to take up NMAT, okay, when should you plan to write NMAT? All these things which can have significant impact on your performance. Those are the questions you can ask. Okay. I think there's a question from Shivam which you can means answer.
The one on adaptive
Yes,
section.
yes, yes.
Yes. So, Shivam, your question is: Will with adaptive pattern, will it be on the tougher side? So, I think Shivam, this question is very subjective. I don't think it'll be tougher, but the key to acing this sort of exam is that you have to maintain your accuracy from the very first question. Because in scale score, what happens is, so if for every correct answer you're getting a +1, and there is another student who's getting a +1, assume that all of your 120 answers are correct. So your score is 120 and even his score is 120. But if he has answered more of difficult questions than you have, then his scale score will be way more than you and he will have a leverage in that case. So I don't think it'll be tougher. In terms of difficulty level, I think it's very subjective, but you have to try to maintain your accuracy from the very first question. That is all I can say.
Okay, I'll add on a point. Okay, so what an adaptive test is? Okay, so in fact, GMAT is an adaptive test. Okay, which and GMAC, which is body which is conducting NMAT. Okay, that is also that is the bodies are same. So in an adaptive test, what happens is you start at a certain level. Okay, so let's say test my total score is 120 in a section, so you start at 60. So it doesn't happen that you start at 0, you start at 60, and you get a question. If you answer correctly, the difficulty level of question will increase. Okay, So if you are getting difficult questions in the exam, that means you are going in the right direction. If you answer a question in correct means your answer is wrong, what happens is your difficulty level will go down. The next question's difficulty level will go down. So you answer incorrectly, then the next question will be easier. Okay, and so on. Okay, so it's a trajectory. Okay, so let's say you start at 60. If you keep on answering correct answer, it will go to 70, 80, 90, 100, 120. So your final score will be 120. If you answer correctly, you will go to 90. If you answer incorrectly 3 4 questions, your level will come down to 70 or 80. Then if you answer correctly, then you can again go up. So it's like a curve. Okay, so with each correct answer, your difficulty level changes. So that's what an adaptive test is. Okay, so now coming to the point whether it be a tougher side, no, it won't be on tougher side. Okay, what you need to focus on is you are on right trajectory. So what I'll suggest is initially you should focus on getting accuracy high so that you are on right track. If you go on wrong track, as in first few questions you have answered incorrectly, and then you start getting easy questions in the beginning, I mean, from let's say fifth sixth question onwards, because initially you answered a question incorrectly, then going up the ladder will be difficult है ना, वो फिर से थोड़ा कर्व ऊपर नहीं जाएगा. So I'll suggest starting में you can go a bit slow, maybe 10-20% speed कम कर सकते हो, then you can go full means regalia है ना, that is what you can do.
Okay, so the next question is about GDPI process. So I think that is much later for now. The first step to the first step you should look forward to right now is preparing for the exam, giving as many mocks as possible and trying to clear the cutoffs, and that is the first step. So focusing on the GDPI as of now is, I don't think, a very wise move. Obviously you have to go through, you have to read newspapers, you have to read editorials that will help you a lot through your GD and PI. You have to be well versed with the current affairs, you have to know what's going around you, but I think that is for later. And for that, sir will have another session as well that will give you specific tips as to how you can clear
Sure,
the
sure.
GD and PI round.
Yeah.
So for now, just stick to reading the newspapers and being aware in general.
Okay. I have a question for you, Shivangi. Okay. So let's say, means what does you have mentioned the types of question topics which we are supposed to focus on. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So let's say somebody who has a weaker section, how he or she should plan his studies. Let's say my weaker section is verbal. Okay. How can I means improve that section, specifically for NMAT?
I think, sir, for NMAT, specific to NMAT, one thing that is very important is the vocabulary part and the reading comprehensions that are a part of the verbal section of NMAT. They're fairly simple. So, what you can start by doing is you have to, like I mentioned, for a candidate, what he can do is he's to read a lot of newspapers. He's to read the editorial. When he's reading the news, he's to the difficult words that he comes across. He's to list them down, try to see the meanings also. Yeah, so that is one way that you can help with the vocabulary. Also reading the newspapers, reading a lot of articles online, on in magazines, all of that will help you browse through comprehensions easily, quickly. So that is the key to acing the verbal section. I feel the difficulty level is not very high, it's just about time management. So you have to make sure that you're very quick with solving the questions, and for that, one thing that you can do is for your vocabulary and also for the comprehensions, for the synonyms and antonyms, you have to read. That was my trick. I think that's about it, sir,
Yeah.
for the verbal
Yeah.
section.
There's another question by Shivam. Okay. If you can take it up.
Is Yes, I feel CAT preparation in term, because CAT, the difficulty level of CAT is obviously way more than NMAT. So if you're preparing for CAT, the technical aspects of it is covered. But like I mentioned, that NMAT is more of a time management thing. So you have to be well versed with the NMAT mocks also, so you can strategize better. Even if you know the concepts, you're very thorough, you will not be able to crack the exam if you don't know which segments to attempt first. You have to be very clear with your sequencing. So you have to attempt the mocks in different sequences, taking DI first, taking LR section first, taking verbal first, and see what works best for you. So, in terms of the technical aspects, in terms of the difficulty level, CAT preparation will help you through it. But I think giving a lot of mocks for NMAT specific mocks is also very important in terms of the strategy. That is. Um, Akash Deep is written. Can we read Norman Louis? Um, I'm sorry, sir. Is this the
Yeah,
book
Norman Lewis's Word Power Made Easy, the book.
Word Power Made Easy? Yes,
Yes.
sir. We've all done that for our NMAT preparation. I think you should definitely go through that book.
Yeah,
It's
because
a very good book.
given the importance of vocabulary section, having means if you read uh, Word Power Made Easy, okay, target to finish it off in 7 to 10 days. Okay, don't think that you have enough time to go for 30 to 30 or 60 days. Okay, the plan which is given in the book. Okay, because it has daily plan. Okay, target to finish it off in 7 to 8 days and 10 days. Learn the roots, words, and everything, the details which are given. Okay, so that will be really helpful. Okay.
Anika has asked if the adaptive pattern will be followed for RC and L. Adaptive pattern will be followed throughout the paper. It will be for all the sections.
Yeah, so what she means is, okay, I mean RCs, the questions are
Oh,
in
good.
means
Difficulty
sets,
levels.
yeah, sets. So 3 4 questions together. So obviously that cannot be done. Okay, means so means if a RC is done, means within the RC the level will be same. Okay, but once you are
Yeah, but
done with the RC, okay,
the
then
set of questions.
yeah, set of.
Yeah. So in a particular question, in the particular RC, if you're giving a lot of incorrect answers, then the next set that you get will be relatively simpler.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'll add one thing which to Shivam's question. Okay, is CAT prep is enough for NMAT? Okay, I'll say all the exams more or less focus on aptitude. Okay, which is uh, verbal quants and reasoning skills. Okay, but the questions they differ. Okay, so as Shivangi has said, okay, when you are preparing for exam you have to think from that exam's perspective. Okay, so you have improved your aptitude, but then for that particular exam you have to have a different mindset. Okay, means as in since questions are easy you need to focus on speed. Okay, also the case will be that the types of questions asked are different. Okay, so you need to prepare accordingly. So what I'll suggest is you should have a mindset when you are done with CAT. Okay, or if you're targeting NMAT or any particular exam, give yourself a window. Okay, means maybe around minimum window of 10 days to 15 days. Okay, where you're focusing particularly for that exam only. Okay, means let's say CAT दे दिया उसके 10 IFT दे दिया, and then for next 15 days you are planning that you will study for NMAT, and then 15 days के बाद में या 10 days के बाद में minimum 10 days दे देना, उसके बाद में तुम NMAT का एग्जाम लिख रहे हो. If you do means prepare in that manner, your means you will be able to adapt according to the exam. And meanwhile बीच में हर दिन या हर alternate day एक एक mock test लिख लो. Okay, to understand उस इस एग्जाम में तुम किस तरह से कर रहे हो. Okay. Yeah, so there is a question is Akashdeep has a question. Okay, or sorry, Shivam's question you can answer.
So, okay. So, right time for giving the exam. I think this question is very subjective. If you are very well prepared and you're thorough and you're getting good scores in your mock, I think you can give it after CAT, after IIFT also. But because the pattern is new, and if you have to get familiarized with the pattern and see how you're faring according to that set of questions, then you could probably give it towards the initial part in the first window and see how you're doing, because then if you get a good score you're good to go. But if you don't get decent score, you can always prepare, have adequate time to prepare, and then go for a second attempt.
Yeah.
So I
So
think if yeah
yeah. So
sorry.
if Shivam, you are targeting only one attempt, as Shivangi has said, वो कैट के बाद में दे सकते हो, आईएफटी के बाद में दे सकते हो, when you are done with that mindset. Okay, means you are thought, okay, means कैट का प्रिपरेशन ओवर हो गया, because it is required, means you will have to have different means mindset when you are dealing with NMAT. Okay, means कोई भी exam के लिए, means let's say you're done with CAT, next week you're planning to write IIFT. For the next 7 days you should think how you are supposed to perform in that exam. You know, anyone who is able to do that better, okay, will have advantage over people who are not able to do that. Okay, so give yourself time. Okay, the another thing which Shivangi pointed out, that since pattern has changed, probably if you wait after CAT, okay, you will have some feedback from students and people who have written the test in first few days. November 4th से exam start है, तो November में जितना भी लोगों का the feedback is there, you can read and you will get an idea. Is there, what are the, means how things are being done. Okay, so you'll have fair idea how you're supposed to prepare, or if you are supposed to make some tweaks in your strategy and preparation plan.
Um, is it true that reasoning is of bank SSC level?
Okay, so I think okay, Shivangi, I'll take up this question. Okay, since you are not aware of the difficulty level of questions asked in banking and SSC level. Okay, so I'll say more or less same the types of question which are asked. Okay, syllogism. Okay, then arrangements. These are the type coding, decoding. All these questions. Okay, which are not asked in CAT. Okay, so काफी means there is a huge, I'll say, correlation between NMAT के question and banking और SSC के question. Okay, तो वो है, ठीक है, वो काफी कुछ है. Follow the topics which are mentioned by Shivangi. Okay, in the PPT. Okay, that will give you a fair idea. Okay, कि किस टाइप के क्वेश्चंस आते हैं. Then what's a decent number of mock tests? Okay, I'll take up first. You can, Shivangi, you can follow. Okay, if you have anything, means you have. I'll say बहुत means one thing which I feel is uh, since you are writing NMAT means particularly. Okay, so uh, NMAT में जाने से पहले, means NMAT का preparation start करने से पहले, you can write one mock so that you know उस exam के लिए how you are supposed to means change your strategy. Okay, so the first thing is, let's say you are planning to write NMAT on 20th of December, and means you're done with IFT or CAT, or means you have another 10-15 days to prepare. Okay, you have 15 days specifically for NMAT. So in that case, write a mock in the beginning, understand how you have performed, and then focus on these areas which are mentioned. Okay, and then I'll say it's very important when you're writing a mock. Okay, that you should analyze that the mock very means in a manner that you means you are able to take up the cues, as in whether you have performed well, what are the areas you are supposed to improve upon. Okay, वो सब बहुत जरूरी होता है, and then you have to work on them as well. Okay, so so people say that you should write a mock every means in a day you have to write one mock or two mock. I'll say that is I feel that is totally means not required. It's means because you have to understand you have to have rigor all of writing the exam also. Means रोज ही तुम अगर एग्जाम लिखने लग जाओगे तो you won't have that rigor also, because I feel if you are writing exam sincerely for 3 hours or 2 hours, you will get tired. You should get tired, if means you should feel exhausted after writing the exam, so you can't do it every day. So हर maybe 3-4 days में एक बार दे दिया तो I'll say means anything between, means I've seen people who have cracked NMAT with just 2 or 3 mocks. I think Shivangi will be able to vouch for that. Okay, so उतना भी means so around 4-5 will be a good number उस 15 दिन के पीरियड में, है ना. What according to you, Shivangi, will be an ideal number? जानते हैं 30 भी कर सकते हैं, 40 भी कर सकते हैं. Okay.
No, I completely agree with you, sir, because even I appeared for NMAT after a week after IIFT. So in that week only, so one mock I had given in the very initial phase to see the difficulty level and to sort of see कि कैसे questions होते हैं, क्या pattern है. But after IIFT, the 1 week that I got was when I actually gave the mocks. So I gave 2 mocks और उसके बीच में मैंने analysis thoroughly किया. Third mock I didn't सिट फॉर इट थ्रू आउट, बस मैंने क्वेश्चंस का टाइप देख लिया था, थोड़ा स्ट्रेटेजाइज कर लिया था कि कौन सा पहला करना है, कौन सा सेकंड करना है. एंड आई थिंक बिकॉज आफ्टर यू गिवन कैट एंड IIFT एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट, तो क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करना इतना प्रॉब्लमेटिक नहीं होता, बस स्ट्रेटेजी डिवाइस करना इज द मेन थिंग. सो इवन इफ यू गिव 3 mocks, 5 mocks, if you have 2 weeks time, you can give 4 to 5 mocks and you'll be good to go. But analysis after every mock is the main thing. I think just merely giving the mocks will not help you. तो एक मॉक देने के बाद एनालिसिस पूरा थरो होना चाहिए.
Okay, okay. So, okay. Now, since there are means no questions so far, okay, means right now. So, I'll means ask you, Shivangi. Okay, since the window is huge now, 30th of December. Okay, so 30th of January. We will can start from.
30th of January.
Okay. So, when should someone plan his or her? Let's say if I'm planning when should I write my attempt? Okay, as in what should be the best part? Should I keep it in the end or means uh, as in similar to what has been asked? Okay, kya pros and cons hai? Can you discuss those things?
So I think if I was to appear this year, I would probably give 1 mock in the starting period. अभी जब नवंबर में start हो रहा है, starting में I would give and see what my score is. अगर मेरा score एक बार में ही अच्छा आ जाता तो वो अलग बात थी. But otherwise, एक starting में देना is good because this time the pattern has changed. So even I don't know, after that a second mock it'll be better to give the second mock after you are done with probably even ZAT भी जो जनवरी के स्टार्टिंग में होता है, ZAT तक भी आपके जब आपने इतना पूरा दे दिया तो आप सेकंड अटेम्प्ट उसके बाद भी दे सकते हो, बिकॉज 30th जनवरी तक का विंडो है, एंड इफ 2 mocks you're giving, so after that probably
Yeah.
वो भी कर सकते हो.
Okay. So
I
okay. So you, if you have an option of writing two walks, okay, then you can follow what Shivangi is saying that you can start means you have if you have that option available with you, okay, or you're thinking about that starting make लिख दिया, you'll know means how well you have done, okay, and then you can means so if you are planning to write more than one mock, at least keep uh, 20 to 30 days gap between those two attempts so that you can improve between those attempts. Okay, there's no point of scheduling one test and after 10 to 15 days दूसरा लिख रहे हो. Significant amount of time होता चाहिए so that you can means improve
prepare.
between and prepare. Yeah, there's
So
another question. Yeah.
another thing I would like to say, that the point that I made about giving the second attempt after that, it wouldn't be a very wise thing. I think you could probably opt for it in December also, because that is when all the results start coming, and that is when people start focusing towards GDPI preparation also. So
Yes.
to be free of all that, I think your NMAT attempts you can give it till December and get done with it, 2 attempts, and see. And if still you see कि बहुत ही कम margin से रह जा रहा है, तो then third attempt you could go for it in January.
Hmm. One more thing I'll add on to Shivangi's point. Okay, so सबको means it's very important. Okay, because you guys don't have experience जो बाकी student लोग. So when you see your score is let's say NMAT में NMIMS Mumbai for NMIMS Mumbai the cutoff is around 210. Okay, so if you are getting 190, that is not difference of just 20 marks and 7 questions. Okay, that's a difference of difficulty level. Okay, because pehle bhi earlier also the means the scheme marking scheme was not +3 or something. Okay, with that has never been the case. Okay, they always scale the score. Okay, so if the difference is like 20-30, okay, then you won't be able to make up. Okay, if your score is I'll suggest, okay, if you're reattempting, if your score is between 200 and 205 then it makes sense. 205 200 se upar hai, the difference is of just 10 marks, then probably it can be made up. Okay, even if you read the blogs by people who design the paper, who are into NMAT means NMAT admission committee and all, they also suggest if you have score of around 203 or 4, then it makes sense because you have to improve by just 5 or 10. But if you have significant means lower score, okay, then वो उतना नहीं बढ़ने वाला, तो थोड़ा सा you have to think about those things. Okay, we have additional questions now from Isha and Shivam and all. If you can take it up, Shivangi.
Is the syllabus for quants in NMAT same as CAT? Um, I think, sir, in terms of topics, you would be able to help me better
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Uh,
So
uh,
I'll just add. Okay. So means Shivangi has mentioned that you need to have very good calculation, arithmetic part.
hmm,
Arithmetic is very important in CAT. Okay. Sorry, NMAT compared to CAT. Okay. Also the let's say question from algebra. Okay, you don't get question from coordinate geometry and all. Okay, you get basic quadratic equation and sequence series EPGP. Okay, these are the topics. Okay, you get questions. Okay, also so the higher level difficulty level questions are not there. But one significant difference is probability is very important topic for NMAT. Although you don't get difficult question, but you get easy question, but you get means good number of questions from probability. Okay, so that is something you should focus on. Okay, so and the important thing is you need to write a mock to understand what are the types of questions asked. Okay, because more or less that has been the division all the time for me. So वही रहेगा. Okay. Uh, okay.
adaptive patterns and effect on cutoffs.
Uh, okay. So sorry. Okay. Now that is something which we have to wait. Okay. Uh, I don't think so that will change because earlier also the marking scheme was not plus three minus one, although it was publicized in that manner. Okay, uh, that has never been the case. Okay, in NMAT the scoring is not plus three minus has not been plus three. It was always based on the means an algorithm which determines your score depending on means the correlation between scores. Okay, so that was depending on difficulty level. So I think it won't change because that is something which they want to keep. Okay, in fact over the years, okay, even before the GMAC took it over from NMAT, okay, the cutoff over the years for I mean 10 years it was around 2000 208 210. So even they have changed the pattern a bit or something, okay, they have remained at that level. Okay, so I don't think so they will change that. Okay, so that is something which we can assume. Okay. And okay, so yeah, next question.
Uh, should you give exam in the first window? So this is, I don't know, I've never heard of this, and I gave it much later. So I don't think if it has any benefits per se. So what do you?
What you were saying that in case you know, want to know the pattern, then you can give into the first window. Means by first window mean in the early
Yeah,
part. Yeah.
yeah. But someone said that you must give the exam in the first. Okay, this year specifically, I mentioned in the first window probably because the pattern is new.
Hmm.
So in case you give it earlier and you don't perform well, then you will have a longer duration to like accustom yourself to the pattern, the current pattern. So you will get a long preparatory period, which is why I said that the if you're giving more than one mock, then it's wise to give one in the starting period. Otherwise, there's no such discrimination in terms of the difficulty level of the paper across the windows. That is the same.
Okay, so means I can understand this the where this question is coming from. There are a lot of rumors on internet forums and everywhere that initial first window is easier and second window later windows it gets difficult. It's not the case. Okay, means it's never has been the case. Okay, so don't worry about all these things. Okay, uh, plan very well. Okay, means all these talks are for losers. Okay, जिनको plan ही नहीं करना अच्छे से. Okay, plan well, prepare for that particular target. Okay, objective, and then means achieve your target. Simple. Okay, I'll say वैसा कुछ नहीं है. All these are rumors. Okay, so don't means think too much about it. Richa has a question I think which you should be able to answer, Shivangi.
So for vocabulary, Richa, I would suggest, like I mentioned, reading the newspaper and making note of the difficult words that you come across. Also, this one book that Sir had mentioned, Word Power Made Easy by Norman Louis, that is also a great book that you can refer to and go through it in 10 to 15 days, and that will give you a good command over the vocabulary. Uh, Otherwise, these are, I think, reading a lot and then making note of the difficult words that you come across and going through that book. There's just these two things that I had done. Sir, would you like to add
Yeah.
anything?
So, thing is, okay, vocabulary. If you want to improve your vocabulary, okay, means mostly it's the day-to-day word used by means people. Okay, those are the type of words you get. Okay, so and a good number of questions comes from contextual use. Okay, means how you use the word in a particular context. Okay, specifically questions which are based on antonym, synonym. Okay, for that you need to have read that particular word. Means reading and understanding and applying those tricks from word power made easy will be useful, and especially antonym, synonym where you are directly asked to find means get the meaning. Okay, but questions which are related to context, okay, which where you have to understand the context and answer, means reading is the best way you can do it. Okay. Yeah, so next there is one more question. Okay.
So, if you don't know a question, should you make a guess then and there, or should you come back to it? So, I think if you don't know the answer to it, you should make a calculated guess and answer outright, because there won't be time. You probably won't get time to come to revisit that question, because it's a very time bound test. You have to be very strategic. So, you can't leave anything for later,
uh,
unless it is that you
I think one thing which changes with the adaptive test is you don't have an option of means
coming back
leaving
to
a
the
question, leaving a
question.
question. Okay, I think they will allow to come back to the question at the end, but leaving a question is you don't have means that option available.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because
So that is not
you're
there. Okay, yeah,
because you will have to make an answer to proceed to the next question.
correct. So
Hmm.
that is something which will change here in case of an adaptive test. Otherwise, they won't be able to change your test level. No. Okay. Okay, so I think there are no more questions. Okay, so I think we will close the session now. Okay, thank you very much, Shivangi, for taking the session, answering all the questions. Okay, and all the best for your placements. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
It
so
was
we'll close, everyone.
yes, sir. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.